Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. My job sometimes required me to work late nights, weekends, and go on business trips. Stacy, my wife, didn't mind because it was part of my job. She used to work too, but after our son Jason was born, she decided to stay home and take care of him. We lived in a nice house in a good neighborhood with great schools and neighbors. Besides my work schedule, everything was going well. I had a great wife, a growing family, and a job I liked that provided for us. Things got complicated when we had our second child. You see, we had difficulty getting pregnant with Jason, and the doctor told me I had a low sperm count. But we were told we could still have children if we tried harder. I was fine with that because my wife and I had a healthy and enjoyable sex life. 3 years after Jason was born, Michelle came along. It was a bit of a surprise, but a happy one. After Michelle was born, we decided not to have any more kids because Stacy said taking care of them was a big job. Over the years, we had some problems and arguments like any couple, but we always talked about them and found solutions. Then, Stacy had some health issues and went to see a specialist. It turned out to be nothing serious, she said, but it meant we couldn't have sex for a while. She never told me exactly what the problem was, just reassured me not to worry. Looking back, maybe I should have been more careful then. I still work a lot at my job, but it's paying off because I've been getting promotions every 3-4 years. I think I'll become the boss of the manufacturing department at work in a year or two. Then I'll have more free time to spend with my family. My son Jason is almost finished with high school, and my daughter Michelle is starting soon. They're both good at sports, and I like to think they got that from me. Jason is great at baseball, and Michelle loves soccer and softball. They do well in school and have lots of friends. Jason has had a few girlfriends, and now Michelle is old enough to start dating, which worries me. Stacy thinks about going back to work now that Jason will soon be off to college and Michelle can take care of herself. It seems like a good idea to me, as long as it doesn't mess up our family routine. Stacy found a part-time job as a salesperson at a big store. I manage a department store in the mall, so she gets an employee discount there. A few months after she started working, I was supposed to be in a long meeting with a supplier, but it got canceled suddenly. Since her workplace was close to my office, I decided to surprise her by visiting during my lunch break. I knew she worked in the jewelry department, so I went there. But when I got there, I couldn't find her. When the person at the counter asked if I needed help, I asked if Stacy was working today. She said, "No, she's not scheduled until tomorrow." I needed to make hotel reservations and other plans soon. I asked when she could talk to Stacy. He said he'd call her because she was still at home and didn't have to work until 8 a.m. He made the call while I listened to his side of the conversation, then hung up. She said she'd send her schedule for the next month by fax later this morning. "Is that okay?" he asked, smiling. "That's perfect. Thank you, Sam. Please thank your wife for me too," he said. About an hour later, I got my wife's work schedule and saw she was only working 10 to 12 hours a week. But she had told me she was working 18 to 25 hours. Why was she lying to me? I felt a cold feeling as I thought about possible reasons, but I didn't have time to think about it because I had meetings all day. I found it hard to focus at work, kept getting lost in thought, trying to figure out what was going on with my wife. After the final meeting, I returned to my office, closed the door, analyzed my wife's schedule, and even compiled a spreadsheet which I then uploaded to my iPhone. What was she doing when not at work? I needed to discover this, so I went online to seek a method to track her movements. Soon I compiled a list of devices suitable for the task, along with some additional useful items. I opted to avoid any trace on our credit or bank statements, so on my way home, I bought a prepaid debit card with cash. The next day I ordered all the necessary items and had them delivered to my office. It would take a few days for them to arrive, so meanwhile I devised a plan for what to do should I uncover the worst. Sitting at my computer, I listed potential reasons why my wife might lie about her hours with infidelity at the forefront. If true, our marriage was gravely endangered, but I found it hard to believe she would be unfaithful. I thought our marriage was going fine, at least that's what I thought. Even though we weren't as intimate as before, we still made love 2-3 times a week. Maybe it had become a bit routine, but did that mean she had to cheat? By the next week, the things I ordered had arrived at my job. Now, I just needed to set them up. I bought a tracker for her car that I could control with my iPhone or iPad to see where she went. I also got some voice-activated recorders and spy cameras for our bedroom, and a really good camera with a strong zoom. It made me sad to think I needed all these gadgets. It felt like our marriage had gotten to a really bad point. I was about to start spying on my wife to find out if she was cheating. I really hoped I was wrong, but I couldn't shake the feeling of doubt, so I had to find out the truth. The next morning, I rose slightly earlier than usual and installed the voice recorder and tracking device in my wife's car. Afterwards, I headed to work, and once there, I reviewed her work schedule to determine her availability. She wasn't scheduled for today, but I decided to call her too. I inquired directly. I picked up my office phone, dialed her number quickly, and greeted her. "Hi, Ann. I just arrived at work, but forgot to ask if you were working today." "Oh, yes I am. I'll be home before you," she replied, evidently lying again. "Okay, just checking. Hope you have a good day at work." "I love you," I managed to say, even though it was hard. With the tracker in her car, I could see where she went. I planned to go home later and put up the spy cameras and voice recorders to see if she was bringing someone into our house. Just thinking about it made me furious. She had to explain why she betrayed me and our kids. I checked my iPad all morning to see if she left the house. Around 10 a.m., I saw she was on the move. I thought it was the right time to set up the rest of the stuff. I told my assistant I needed to go home for a few hours and would be back after lunch. Then I started putting the equipment in our bedroom to get the best view without being seen. I decided to check on Stacy's whereabouts. I looked on my iPod and noticed she was at the shopping center. Perhaps she had to go into work after all. I thought I'd visit unexpectedly once more. Arriving at the mall, I spotted her car parked far from the entrance of her workplace, which I found peculiar. I took out the new digital camera and snapped a few photos. I parked close to the store and headed directly to the jewelry section. There I encountered the same sales associate who had assisted me previously. "Hello, is Stacy here today?" I asked. "I'm sorry, sir, but she quit last week," the woman said. When I asked her about it, she said it was because of her personal life. She smiled and asked if there was anything else she could help with. "No, thank you," I said, trying not to show my frustration. If Stacy had been there, I might have talked to her about it. I realized that this lying had been happening for a while, but I didn't know how long or who else was involved. I decided I had to find out the truth and talk to Stacy and whoever she was hiding. Instead of going back to the office, I stayed in the parking lot and found a spot where I could watch her car without her noticing me. The camera on my phone let me zoom in from far away, so I could watch quietly and take pictures if I needed to. It was almost 2 p.m. when another car parked next to hers. I saw her get out of the passenger side, lean over, talk for a bit, and then smile. That made me really angry. I took some pictures of her and the other car. I couldn't see who was driving, but I noticed the car had dealer plates. There were only a few car dealerships nearby, so I thought I might be able to find out which one it came from. By then, she had probably gone home. I sat there thinking about what I saw and decided to drive by a few dealerships to see if I could find the car. As I approached, I noted the signs and flags advertising significant discounts or new models. Although I wasn't searching for a new car, my focus was on finding the individual my wife was spending time with. I checked several dealerships but did not find the car. I refrained from exiting my vehicle as that could alert the person betraying me. Then I realized I had yet to obtain conclusive evidence of their affair. I knew I needed to catch them together, but that dilemma would have to wait. I was preparing for a 3-day business trip to meet a client the following week and needed to concentrate. I returned home at the usual time. Everything seemed normal. Reminding my wife of the trip, I fibbed again. "Sorry, honey, but they want us to stay for the whole week. I should be back by Saturday afternoon," I said, hoping it wouldn't be a problem for her. "No, that's okay," she smiled, but I started to wonder if she had plans with her other partner. I wanted to catch them and solve this problem for good. I went to bed and pretended to sleep while I thought about what to do. The next morning, I put the issue aside and focused on my work. The week went by quickly, and I was supposed to leave on Sunday afternoon. My son offered to drive me to the airport, but I could tell something was bothering him as we drove. He paused, then said, "Dad, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you should know." Mom was having trouble getting the words out, so I assisted her. She confessed she was having an affair. "Yes, I know. Is that what you were trying to tell me?" He looked at me with a blend of surprise and sadness. "Are you going to divorce her?" "I haven't decided yet." "How did you learn she was involved with someone else a few weeks ago?" "My baseball practice was canceled because of rain, and I returned home several hours early. It was raining heavily when I got there, so they didn't see me come in, but I heard them. I went to the bedroom and saw them together." I was so shocked, I didn't know what to do, so I left and went to a friend's house. I came back a few hours later, and he was gone, and Mom seemed like she'd showered. Tears welled up in his eyes as he told me this. I felt like hurting her right then. "Does Michelle know?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, I don't think so, and I won't tell her. You know how she gets when she's angry." "Good," I said, "because I want to save our family. Just act normal around Mom and Michelle. If you need to talk, call me." We got to the airport, and I hugged my son. "Stay strong, okay? And take care of Michelle. Call me if you need anything." Then I met up with my coworkers. We checked in and got on our flight. The trip went well. We made a big deal with a new client after a few days of meetings. We were celebrating with lunch when Jason called me urgently. "You need to come home now?" His voice was filled with panic. "What's wrong?" What happened now? I was alarmed. "It's Michelle. She discovered Mom's affair, and it wasn't pretty. You need to come home. Is she injured?" What happened he didn't elaborate, just urged me to come home quickly. I excused myself, explaining I had a family emergency, and checked out of the hotel. Once at the airport, I caught the next flight home. It was only a 2-hour flight, but it felt much longer. Upon landing, Jason was there to meet me. "Okay, what the hell happened?" "How did Michelle find out about your mom's affair?" Jason looked at me similarly. "She took matters into her own hands. Her softball practice was canceled, and she came home early. She found them together in bed, just like I did. The difference is she grabbed her softball bat and attacked him." I looked at Jason in astonishment, but he was grinning broadly. "He won't be able to walk for a while, and I really doubt he'll have sex again," she said, shocked. "Michelle told me before the police took her. They were having sex when she walked in on them. She was just as surprised and angry as I was. So she went back to her room, got her bat, and started hitting him. After she thought she'd done enough, she called 911 and said there was a criminal attacking her mom and asked for the police and paramedics. I had just gotten home and could hear the man crying out in pain. When the police got there, they questioned Mom, Michelle, and the man, Kevin. Michelle kept saying since it wasn't her dad with her mom, it had to be an attack. So she did what she thought was right. Jason couldn't stop smiling. "This isn't funny," I said, but then I started laughing. When we arrived home, I found Stacy sitting on the couch looking distraught. I went over to her and embraced her. "I realize this has been highly distressing, but I'm convinced with some comforting. You'll be all right." I exaggerated the assault part so she wouldn't suspect I was aware of the truth. She shivered. "Oh God," then she started to weep. I turned to Jason. "Where is Michelle now?" She is still at the police station. I wasn't sure what action to take. I stood up, took out my phone, and dialed our family attorney. I informed him of what occurred. I inquired if he could suggest a reliable lawyer for this case. He mentioned they had one at their firm and that he would join me at the police station within an hour. Then I pulled Jason aside to speak with him so Stacy couldn't listen. "I don't want your mom to know that we are aware of her affair. As far as we are concerned, Michelle was pursuing a criminal." "Okay," he smiled. "Understood. You need to stay here and console her. I'm going to fetch Michelle and bring her home." I was at the police station talking with the desk officer and waiting for the attorney. Then he showed up, dressed very professionally in his suit and tie. We worked on getting Michelle released. It seemed like Kevin wanted to press charges against Michelle for assault. I asked if my wife planned to press charges against Kevin. They said no. I realized she was in a tough spot. If she didn't press charges, she'd have to admit to the affair, and Michelle might go to jail. But if she did press charges, Kevin might say they were having an affair, and Michelle could still end up in jail. I felt proud of Michelle for trying to protect her mom from what seemed like an attack, but also sad that she had to find out about the affair this way. Right then, I knew our marriage was finished. It took several hours, but Michelle was discharged to me with a commitment to appear in court within a few days. I embraced my daughter tightly as she wept. "I'm sorry, Daddy, but I had to stop him," she sobbed. "It's fine, baby. You did the right thing, and I'm so proud of you." I was crying now. "Can we go home now?" "Absolutely, sweetie. Absolutely." As soon as we were home, Jason gave Michelle a large hug as she entered. "How are you feeling?" she sniffed. "Better now that I'm home." I looked around the living room. "Where is your mother?" "She went to rest. That's bad when you divorce her." "Sorry. Can I live with you both?" Jason and I looked at Michelle. "Honey, who said I was going to divorce your mother?" "Well, I just assumed since she has been unfaithful." Both Jason and I looked at her. "What?" she said. "I heard them talking before I confronted him, but..." Then she added with a smile, and I don't think he'll be able to have sex anytime soon. Maybe not ever again. I couldn't help but chuckle. I need to talk to your mom first, so let's hold off on talking about divorce. Why don't you guys go to bed? It's been a long day for everyone. I went upstairs and found Stacy asleep on our bed, face down. I grabbed some clothes and went to sleep in the guest room. It was late, and I didn't see the point in waking her up to hear her side of the story. It took me a while, but I eventually fell asleep. The next morning, I woke up at about 10 a.m., feeling better, and went downstairs for some coffee. Jason and Michelle were at the kitchen table talking. They saw me coming and both got up to hug me. Jason said, "Dad, you look terrible. Are you all right?" I nodded. "Yeah, just really tired." "Is Mom awake?" They both shook their heads. Michelle said, "Not yet." "What will happen now? Will I have to go to jail?" "I'd rather be in jail than have to live with her." "Michelle, you don't mean that." "Look, whatever happens, your mother loves you, no matter what she has done to our marriage. I'll speak with her and find out what we can arrange." I'm not very hopeful, though. I had no expectations when suddenly Stacy appeared in the doorway. Please give me a chance," she cried. "I don't want to lose you or our family." "Can't we talk? Can't we try to sort things out?" I looked at her and the kids stared angrily at her. Stacy and I needed to have a discussion, but not in front of the children. So I handed Jason a few 20s and said, "Why don't you and Michelle go see a movie? Then grab some pizza afterward." "Okay." They both nodded as they left, but they remained silent toward Stacy, and she noticed. Once they were gone, Stacy sank into a chair. "They hate me. My own kids hate me." "Well, what did you think would happen? They found out you were with another man. So, what now?" "I heard Kevin wants to press charges against Michelle. If that happens, I'll make sure everyone knows about this mess in the news. You need to talk to your ex-boyfriend, and if he doesn't cooperate, tell him you'll press assault charges against him." "Got it?" She nodded and started crying again. "What about us, Chris? What about our marriage? I'll be speaking with a divorce attorney next week. You should do the same. As far as our marriage is concerned, it ended years ago. I'll take full custody of the kids because frankly Michelle might attack you with a baseball bat while you sleep. Do you really want to live in fear of your own kids? They don't love you as much after finding out about you and Kevin. Look, this is going to be messy, no matter how we deal with it. I know I'll regret saying this, but it might be smart for you to get a lawyer and figure out your options now," she said, starting to cry again. "Chris, I don't want a divorce. I want our family back. Please help me. You didn't just cheat on me, you cheated on our whole family. The kids don't want anything to do with you. You really messed up, Stacy, and I'm not sure if I want to keep our marriage going. Tell me what I need to do to keep our family together." "I'm so sorry," she cried harder. "A good start would be for both of us to talk to Kevin and convince him to drop the charges against Michelle. Then we need to talk about why you did this and see if we can save our marriage. I'm not making any promises. If you're willing to be honest, we might have a chance. I can talk to Kevin alone." "You don't need to come," she said quietly. "This involves our daughter, and as her father, I'm coming with you." She nodded, looking defeated. Soon we were driving to the hospital to talk to Kevin. I wasn't expecting it to be a pleasant conversation. When we got to his room, I saw both his legs were raised by ropes, his knees wrapped in bandages, and one arm was in a cast, probably from trying to defend himself from Michelle. I smiled to myself, thinking, I bet Stacy's already thinking about buying Michelle a car for her next birthday, even though she's still 2 years away from getting her driver's license. Kevin noticed us come in. He looked pretty out of it, probably from the pain medicine. "I hope that wears off soon. Hey, if it isn't the loving couple, come in and see what she did to me," he said calmly, sounding almost inebriated. "Please, Kevin, we just want to talk. It doesn't have to be ugly," Stacy said with a quiver in her voice. She was anxious, but I couldn't grasp the reason until he revealed. "I instructed you to terminate the pregnancy 14 years ago, but no, you insisted on having another baby, even if it wasn't as Kevin hissed." I turned to Stacy puzzled. "What is he talking about? What did he mean that Michelle isn't mine?" "Oh, he's just talking nonsense because of the drugs. Don't listen to anything he says," she said, trying to calm down. She was shaking visibly now. "Really? Well, then I guess a DNA test will prove without a doubt that she's my daughter. Maybe I should get one done for Jason too, just to make sure he's mine as well. What do you think, honey?" I was angrier than I'd ever been. Stacy ran out of the room crying. I just stood there, then turned back to Kevin, staring him down. Okay, here's what you're going to do first. You withdraw the charges against Michelle second. You keep away from my family. As for Stacy, continue your affair, as she will not be my wife much longer. Understood, both of you can have all the freedom you want now. He began to weep. That action ensured I would never be free again. Yes, I'm buying her a car for her next birthday, I confronted him. Is she your daughter? He nodded, speechless. Then I asked, so you and my wife have been having this affair for the last 15 years? He nodded. It hurt my pride a lot, and I was glad she wasn't there or I might have hurt her. I sat down, lost in my thoughts, feeling foolish for not realizing sooner. Then I remembered her past health issues, the ones she never explained. With a terrible suspicion, I looked at Kevin. Was that health issue she had a few years back another pregnancy that was ended? I threatened to tell you that neither Michelle nor the poor old woman asked one were yours if she didn't abort, he confessed. I was devastated, and I buried my face in my hands and cried. After I pulled myself together, I left Kevin's room. In the waiting room, I found Stacy looking out the window. As soon as she saw me, she walked with me to our car. Once inside, we sat in silence until she attempted to speak. I know you must despise me, but it's not as you think, she began. I interrupted her sharply. If you claim it was just a fling, you'll end up next to Kevin. When were you planning to tell me about the abortion? When were you going to admit Michelle isn't my daughter? She began to cry again, but this time I was indifferent. Here's the plan, and if you disagree, it will unleash a storm that will bury you. Understood, she nodded. First, our marriage ends tonight, and you'll move out immediately. You can never go back to that house again. I'll have full custody of our kids. You can visit them, but only if they agree. If they don't want to see you, that's final. If you ever tell Michelle I'm not her dad, I'll tell everyone you had a baby with your lover and had an abortion, and I heard you quit your job to be with Kevin, she said, trying to avoid facing the harsh truth. Stacy, I never want to see you again, and stay away from my kids. Understand? They're my kids too, she said. No, not anymore. You can only see them if they say yes, but they probably won't. When we get home, pack up your stuff and leave, I said. She was still crying. Where will I go? Call your parents, call a friend, ask if you can stay with Kevin, get a tent and camp in the park. I don't care. You can go anywhere, I said angrily. We drove back to my house and pulled into the driveway. We sat there for a few minutes without saying anything. Finally, I asked, why, Stacy? Was it not enough for you? The family we started, the nice home, was it the sex? She just sat there. It meant nothing to me. He was great at sex, and then he began to blackmail me when Michelle was born. I do love you. Can we at least try? And I shouted, 15 years. Stacy, you cheated on me for 15 years and you want to work it out. Get out of my house now. I got out of the car and stormed into the house. A few minutes later, she came in and began to pack. An hour later, she had her bags packed and several cardboard boxes filled with her stuff. She went out the front, opened the door, and loaded her car. Then she came back in. I'll need to come back to get the rest of it. I'll be staying at my parents'. Can I call you and arrange a time to pick it up? I nodded. You ruined a good thing. Stacy, I hope you know that. She just looked at me, then left. About 2 hours later, the kids came back and looked around. Jason asked, where is Mom? She doesn't live here anymore, I told him. I'll have custody of you too, and she can visit if you agree to see her. Sorry, guys, but our marriage couldn't be saved, I said. Michelle came over and hugged me. Thanks, Dad. We love you, she said. Are you okay? Jason asked. No, but I will be with you two by my side, I said, holding them close. 8 years later, as time passed, Michelle, Jason, and I were able to move on from what Stacy did to our family. The kids didn't want anything to do with her and only let her visit for an hour or two every other weekend if they didn't have any games or other activities scheduled. They almost always had something planned for those weekends. I tried to mend things and get them to see her more, but as soon as Jason said she could go to hell, Michelle pretty much did the same thing, and it crushed Stacy. It was the first time in a long time I felt sorry for her. Kevin was released from the hospital and dropped all charges after I talked to him again. I warned him that if he pursued having Michelle charged with assault, I would have Stacy file rape charges against him. He now walks with a cane, and it's rumored he can't perform sexually anymore, even with Viagra. The last I heard, he had seen many specialists, which must have cost him a small fortune, but with no success. Too bad. At Michelle's request, we had a DNA test done, and it turned out she is my daughter. When we found out, we held each other and cried. We were both so relieved. Now my question is, was the child that Stacy had terminated mine as well? That thought will be with me until the day I die. Stacy lived with her parents for a couple of years and found a full-time job. Then later, she moved out of state and we lost touch. She does send the kids birthday and Christmas cards, but the kids always send them back unopened. And Michelle went to college to become a nurse. Both are doing well in school and are dating. Jason has a steady girlfriend, but Michelle said she wants a guy just like me. I think she can find someone better than him. It took me several years before I felt ready to date again, but eventually I met a really nice woman and we see each other regularly. I'm not in a rush to get married again, and I probably won't. The pain is still there, but it gets a little easier each day. Thank goodness for my kids. Now, on to the second story. Should I stay or should I go? I found out that my husband had decided to reconnect with his friend within 3 months of our wedding. Let me tell you our story. We met when I was 44 and he was 51. We had both been through the ups and downs of previous marriages and faced many challenges in past relationships. Early in our dating journey, as we explored our personal in the past, we exchanged stories of errors, sorrows, and the anguish of being betrayed, a common experience for both of us on multiple occasions. We started this journey hoping to find simplicity, truth, and transparency, avoiding drama and needless complexity. Personally, I avoid playing mind games and testing in relationships. What you see is what you get with me. I believe in treating others as I wish to be treated. Despite admitting to my imperfections as a chaotic individual and sometimes being difficult, I take pride in my straightforwardness. Over 5 years, we never engaged in a serious argument. We had minor disagreements, but never anything involving severe words or real anger. Our relationship was marked by fun, friendship, and the enthusiasm of lovers. I managed all household chores, cooking, cleaning, and shopping because I enjoy taking care of my loved ones. He, on the other hand, took care of most of the household expenses. Even though I didn't really want to, he kept pushing for us to get married. Even when I said no, he was really insistent. Our intimate life was good and satisfying, at least I thought so, but as our first year of marriage went on, he started to distance himself from me. He didn't want to spend quality time together anymore. He became more distant, and sometimes he was grumpy or even rude. I didn't understand why he was so obsessed with his phone. He was more interested in it than in our first anniversary dinner. He hardly looked up from it. Then, I accidentally found some really bad stuff on his phone. He had asked her for a photo, and she had sent one of herself bending over at her desk, pulling her pants down to her knees like a dog going to the bathroom. He reacted strongly, saying crude things about how much he liked being intimate with her. They had been involved casually for 20 years, even when she was married, and she's still married to the same man. A few months after our anniversary, my husband apparently reached out to her under the guise of a seemingly harmless business inquiry, which soon escalated into exchanging explicit photos. This led to a 6-month affair, which I was oblivious to until I uncovered their clandestine relationship. The affair ended only because I caught them in the act. Their plans had included trips together, making videos and participating in various endeavors. He openly admired her physical traits despite her having what he referred to as a flat backside and droopy breasts with no eyebrows and dull eyes. While I do not wish to boast, he has described her as unattractive. Despite me being 7 years his senior, I keep up a figure that features a full bust and curvaceous backside. Regrettably, he has never shown the same enthusiasm for photos of me. Efforts to inject creativity and spontaneity into our personal life have encountered awkwardness and unease. Enjoying viewing explicit acts on screen. Yet he has no wish to experience these activities with me. He talks to her in a very open way, but he's more reserved when he's with me. He's not as eager about oral sex with me, even though he seems more interested when it comes to her. He prefers quick and graphic encounters with her in the dark, then asks me if I'm satisfied as if he doesn't really care. He says he likes her because she's discreet, keeping quiet about their activities. He can avoid being seen with her in public, but she's willing to meet him in different places, like leaning against his truck or a random dumpster, and then just going about her day. Now, he says it wasn't worth it and promises it won't happen again. He says he wants to stay married to me, but he avoids talking about the details. He says he cheated because he wanted to feel the excitement of their early romance from 20 years ago. What's ironic is how he used to talk about women who cheated on him in the past. He was shocked and said terrible things about them, finding it unbelievable that someone could deceive him. Now, he says it's all over, and I should just move on, he says, but he keeps saying, "But I love you." I never wanted to leave you, even though he clearly thought about leaving me for her, just for fun near a dumpster. He thought he could have a good time without me finding out or getting hurt, leaving me wondering when I stopped being fun. If I hadn't caught him, he would have been happy to keep betraying me. I feel disgusted and hate myself, even though I still love him deeply. I feel numb and wish I could find a way out, but I don't want to hurt myself. I'm torn between loving him and feeling angry at him, and I've thought about getting back at him by cheating too. But I don't really want to stoop to that level. I know I need help from a therapist, but I can't afford it because I don't have enough money. Second story, been back and forth with cheating ex-30F for months. Why can't I 27 leave? In June 2023, I went to visit my family after not seeing them for 3 years because of the pandemic and work. Unfortunately, my girlfriend couldn't come with me to the US because her passport wasn't strong enough to get a visa. I trusted her, so she went on vacation while I was away. 6 months later, in January 2024, I found out she cheated on me during her vacation and had been flirting with other men since then. I was devastated and asked her to leave the house. But it wasn't easy to let go. We stayed in touch, continued seeing each other, and even tried to work on our relationship in March. However, things turned violent during a big fight. Now, in April, we've both admitted that we still love each other despite everything that's happened. Her story of why she cheated was because she felt alone in the relationship. That because she felt I wasn't there emotionally, neglected her, made comments about how she kept the house dirty, but mostly just not communicating in a positive manner. Looking back, yes, I could have definitely been a better boyfriend, and since April of this year, I have vowed to honor that. Now, just a couple nights ago, she goes through my phone and sees that I'm still clinging on to 2 girls that I have been in contact. Nothing but respectful conversations, and I was already nearly ending things there. Now, just the other night, I saw an opportunity to look through her inbox and found that there have been flirtatious texts and conversations between guys during the entire 3 years of our relationship. I'm not asking here what to do because I know it's not right, but for some reason I can tell that those guys really don't mean anything and that she does actually love me, but she just can't shake the other guys. I want to leave her, but why can't I? Why am I stuck to this toxicity? P.S. I hope this makes sense. Kind of high on emotions and just looking for people to share this with. Thanks for joining us on this chapter of Relation Tales. If you were moved by these stories, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Don't miss out on the upcoming emotional roller coaster of relationships. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to share more compelling tales with you. Until next time, remember, every relationship has a story worth telling. See you soon.